everyone. Jarrett Hoffman here with another edition of the Better Than Less Than podcast. Appreciate you guys for tuning in to the first non-live edition. So I get it. I know you probably very upset with me that this is not live. I'm sorry. I'm gonna be out of town. I'm traveling. By the time you're watching this, I'm gonna be traveling down to see family. It's 4th of July weekend. I shouldn't even be doing a video at all, but I was like, my fans need me. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, but seriously, I am going to be traveling, so it just what's not going to be possible for me to do a live show on Thursday. So I'm giving it to you guys. This is going to be the night before. I'm going to be recording this, and then it'll be out to you guys when you're watching it. So please leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe to become a level 1, 2, or 3 member to get all the exclusive content from the HBCU sports team. You can always follow us on all of our social platforms. We're on Twitter X, we're on Instagram, we're on Blue Sky, we're on TikTok, we're on LinkedIn, we're on all the social platforms. Search HBCU Sports and you will find us. And you can always go to hbcusports.com for all the latest news in HBCU sports. This show is brought to you by the second annual HBCU Sports Awards that will be taking place July 26th here live on YouTube and on Facebook. So please support. Be ready. We're going to be honoring all of the greatest athletes, student athletes, administrators, coaches, and dignitaries in HBCU athletics from the 2024-2025 athletic season as we turn the page into the 2025-2026 athletic season. So be here to support. Again, it'll be July 26th. Time still to be determined. And we will be announcing the nominees very soon, so be tuned in for that. All right, we got a packed show for you here today. We had a lot of news that broke right after I got off live last week. So this is going to be the in case you missed it segment of today's show. And the first one is a big one. It is Central State announcing the historic hire of Ashley Cornwell as their tight ends coach and assistant special teams coach. Central State is in their first season under head coach Tony Carter after moving on from Kevin Porter, who was there for about 3 seasons. So Tony Carter is putting together a special coaching staff. You have Santonio Holmes, who was previously a Super Bowl MVP with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I believe he was I'm trying to remember what Super Bowl it was. I think it was 44, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that. But it's either 44 or 43, 45, one of those. But you have Santonio Holmes on the coaching staff, and now you add Ashley Cornwell, an historic hire, unless someone wants to fact check me. This is the first women's coach in Central State history, and I believe she should be the first head coach in the SIAC. I said head coach, the first assistant coach, first women's assistant coach in SIAC history. I could be wrong about that. If someone wants to fact check me, but I believe this would be a historic first for the conference and for the Central State program. Ashley Cornwell brings some significant attributes to Central State. She was the first women's coach in Big Ten history at her alma mater, University of Wisconsin, where she was a student assistant coach there. And she was there throughout her years at University of Wisconsin until she graduated in 2022. She was a part of teams that made it to the Big Ten championship game. They made it to the Rose Bowl during her time there. And yes, so forget just the first Big Ten or the first Wisconsin women's coach. She was the first women's coach at the Power 5 level at that time. So she brings historic accomplishments under her belt. And then she went on to coach at Oberlin College and then made her way to the Bucknell University, where she was the first women's coach there and the first women's coach in the Patriot League. And she not only has experience coaching at the college level, but she has experience participating in coaching at the professional level. She's been a part of the Bill Walsh Diversity Coaching Fellowship for 4 years, 4 different years with 4 different teams. She coached first with the Tennessee Titans, and then she took part with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Washington Commanders. And this season, she will be with the Cleveland Browns. So she's been a part of the American Football Coaches Association convention. She's been a part of the National Coalition of Minority Football Coaches. So she is not, as the saying goes, she's not new to this. She's true to this. So historic hire for Tony Carter in the Central State football program, and this is outstanding. It's outstanding to see women to continue to break down barriers and reach uncharted territory. What would have been uncharted territory, forget just 30, 40 years ago, this would have been uncharted territory 10 years ago. We're starting to see more women get into the game of American football. We've seen women playing. I don't know why that word was just escaping me, but we've seen women step on the field for teams. A couple of years ago, Leilani Armenta was the first women to play at Division I HBCU, and there's a player for Shaw. I forget who. Excuse me for forgetting her name, but she was the first person to play for an HBCU in general. So women are continuing to break down barriers in sports in general, but at college football level, we're seeing more and more women get involved and continuing to make way for women in the future who are considering that career path. It's starting to look like it won't be long until we have a woman head coach at the college football level. We're seeing in the NBA, there's plenty of women who have taken part in coaching staff. Becky Hammon, who is the current coach of the Las Vegas Aces, she spent many years on the sidelines as a head coach, assistant coach with the San Antonio Spurs under Greg Popovich. Teresa Weatherspoon, before she became head coach of the Chicago Sky, was unceremoniously fired after just a year there, but she was previously on the coaching staff of the New Orleans Pelicans. So we're seeing women, in what are male-dominated fields starting to inch their way in and making getting these historic accomplishments. And it won't be before long we could potentially see a woman coach in the NBA. We could see a woman coaching college football at some point, a head coach like that. That's not outside the realm of possibility. I just listed all of those credentials for Ashley Cornwell. She is well qualified to one day work her way up into becoming a head coach if that is what she wishes to do. I'm not sure what her goals are in the sport of football, whether or not she wants to be an assistant at the NFL level, or if being a college head coach, if that is something that she's wants to do or willing to do. I can definitely see it happening in the UFL. I don't think that there's any women coaching in the UFL. I could be wrong about that. I'm pretty sure. Well, not pretty sure. But I haven't seen anything about a woman coaching in the UFL. But if there hasn't been yet, there will be soon. I can guarantee that there's women coaching in the NFL. So the UFL is not outside the realm of possibility, and a woman head coach in the UFL is definitely not impossible. So looking forward to seeing what Central State does this year. It's been years of stagnance for Central State. As the SIAC has continued to get better, they have just not been able to equal up to schools like Albany State, schools like Miles, and now Clark Atlanta is starting to become a contender. So hopefully Tony Carter is a breath of fresh air for this program, and that they'll start to build some momentum. If you watch Central State, that they are always a tough out. We saw them take they took Clark Atlanta to the brink last year in the game that famously turned off for most people on HBCU Go or the Grio. We've seen them take teams to the limit that they should not have been at all competitive with. So this is a team that has the capabilities to compete with the best. The problem is they have not had the ability to win against the best, and hopefully Tony Carter is able to change around the culture at Central State, and that they're able to finally get over the hump in those close competitive games that they seem to always be in. And hopefully Ashley Cornwell continues to develop and more opportunities come for her, not just at Central State but anywhere. The sky's the limit for what she could potentially do. She has an incredible resume as of right now. And the fact that she just graduated 3 years ago. Is that right? Is she? I mean, I'm looking at the cheat. I got a cheat sheet right here, so I'm not just going off the cuff because I don't want to be just saying stuff. But I believe she just graduated a couple of years ago. So the fact that she has these long lists of accomplishments and achievements that she has done this young into her coaching career is absolutely astounding. So the things that she could potentially do in the game of football and the history that she could potentially make, and the barriers she can break down for more women to continue to build off of and make history with is I'm just looking forward to seeing what comes from this. So Central State hiring Ashley Cornwell as their tight ends coach and special teams coordinator, assistant special teams coordinator, and yeah. So I swear I'll be trying to end like I can't end a sentence worth nothing. Like I'll be like, hey, yeah. So next, going up to the next story, Johnson C. Smith just cannot stay out of the recruiting trail. The work does not stop for Johnson C. Smith. They are determined to become a CIAA champion, and with this most recent move, they may be one step closer because they have added Cam Williams. For those who don't know who Cam Williams is, he is a former Miles College defensive back. He was a part of that SIAC championship team last year. Had beat 3 interceptions on the season for them, 2 of them in the SIAC championship game against Clark Atlanta when Clark Atlanta blew the doors off of got their doors blown off of them 52-24 in that SIAC championship game. And man, the off season has been rich for Johnson C. Smith. Not only have they added Kelvin Durham at quarterback, at the expense of losing Darius Ocean, who had an incredible season last year, but Kelvin Durham is not a bad fill-in for him. You add Armon Harris to a receiving corps that also has Brevin Caldwell, the two men who each had 1,000 yards last season. It wasn't many 1,000-yard receivers last year. Those were 2 of them, and now they're on the same team. Then you got Camaro Edmonds at the running back spot, who I believe had over 600 rushing yards. Don't quote me on that. I don't know the exact number, but you got your offense set. In the defense, there was going to be questions about whether or not they can continue this level of success. They had a slight drop off from the previous year on the defensive end, but they were still strong with Benari Black, who was named the CIAA Defensive Player of the Year last season, but now he's gone. And Jack Smith, I'm not certain whether or not Jack Smith will be there this season, but I believe he was a senior last year, so I'm not sure he'll still be there. I could be wrong about that, but this is a huge move for Johnson C. Smith. The defense was always going to be the question because you got the offensive talent. Benari Black being gone, defense was going to be a question whether or not they can hold up their end of the bargain. And Cam Williams is absolutely the guy to have on in your defensive unit for you to continue the success that you have had. Last year, I've talked about it multiple times because we've been talking about Johnson C. Smith all season because they just cannot sit down. They just can't stop. They just can't stop making these big offseason moves. So we've been talking about it all season, but sorry to bring it up again, but last year did not end the way that they wanted it to. They lost their last 2 games of the season after winning their first 8. Got shut out by Fayetteville State. Still had a chance to make it to the CIAA championship game if they were able to beat Livingstone, or Virginia State lost to Virginia Union. Unfortunately, things didn't go their way in the final week of the season. They lost to Livingstone, and Virginia State beat Virginia Union, knocking them out of CIAA championship contention, and it effectively knocked them out of contention for the Division II postseason. So they have a huge chip on their shoulder. They have not won a CIAA championship in well over 40 years. So it's been a while since Johnson C. Smith has been in the been a CIAA champion. It's been a long time since they've been in the CIAA championship game. So they have some lofty expectations for them, especially with their head coach Maurice Flowers getting the attention that he's getting. It's only a matter of time before he gets some calls from Division I programs. We thought it was going to be he was going to have an opportunity to be called up to a Division I program this past offseason with all the firings that we had this offseason. Alabama A&M moving on from Connell Maynard, which we call it North Carolina A&T moving on from, Jesus, I cannot remember his name to save my life. I'll be forgetting names, man. Let me tell you something. I'm getting old. But North Carolina A&T moved on from their coach, and I'm trying to remember all the other schools that moved on from coaches. Tennessee State recently moved on from their coach. So there were opportunities for Maurice Flowers and potentially even Dr. Alvin Parker. We thought that Dr. Alvin Parker was going to be moving on and going up to a Division I program, and that was until Michael Vick got the call from Norfolk State, and you're just like, hey, it's not Michael Vick, what you gonna do, but these coaches, they're one thing we've seen in recent college football is that if you're performing well at the lower levels, at the Division II, Division III, NAIA levels, they're gonna see you and they're gonna come call them. We're seeing many coaches come up from the Division II ranks and take over Division I programs and have success at those Division I programs. We see it happen with Damon Wilson. We've seen it now happen. We saw it last year with Chennis Berry. He led the South Carolina State to a MEAC title. So shelf life for Division II coaches, if you're having success. The fact that Damon Wilson was at Bowie State for about 12, 13 years before he got called up to Morgan State, after leading Bowie State to their best season in school history, making it to the regional finals of the Division II playoffs. So my point in bringing that up is that Maurice Flowers, if he continues to have the success that he's having in these recruiting wins, it's not going to be long before a Division I program comes calling. So this is a must-win year. This is a championship or bust year for Johnson C. Smith. You have all the talent. We already outlined all the offensive talent, and already talking about Cam Williams, who was big for Miles in their SIAC championship run last year. You got all this talent. It's now or never for you, and they're the prohibitive favorite. It's not even a question at this point. Yes, Virginia Union is the team to beat. They're the reigning champs, the 2-time reigning champs. Virginia State's going to be there. Livingstone's going to be there. Winston-Salem State's going to be there. But Johnson C. Smith has far from separated themselves from the pack with all these offseason moves. It's looking like it's not going to be fair in most of these games. I feel sorry for most of the teams that's going to have to face them. The corners that are going to have to go up against Johnson C. Smith. Let me tell you something right now. I'm locked in when Johnson C. Smith plays Livingstone. Livingstone's secondary is nothing to sleep on. They have talent up and down that secondary, but led by Kevin Larkins Jr., of course. That game is going to be one that I am looking forward to see. So, granted, I'm looking forward to the CIAA football season in general, but that matchup in general with the talent on Livingstone's secondary and the receiver talent on Johnson C. Smith, like that's gonna be a goodie. But all that being said, Johnson C. Smith, this is a championship or bust season. They by far have the most talent of any program at the Division II level, let alone the CIAA. I'm probably going to get some flack for saying that, but hey, the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding. That's all I can say about that. They have entirely too much talent, and they have an incredible coach with them. There's no reason why they should not be at least in the CIAA championship game, let alone win it. They absolutely should win it if all goes right. Now, granted, you gotta put the guys in the right positions to be successful. Talent does not win you games. It's about how they fit together and how they play together. I understand, but the talent on paper on this team, there's no reason why they should not at least be in the CIAA championship. And it'll be a disappointment if they do not do it again. And we're going to have to ask ourselves some questions about Johnson C. Smith if they don't make it to the CIAA championship game this season. I know they have championship hopes. Every team should have hopes of a championship of championships. Every team, whether you're good or bad, like if you're not good enough to win a championship, you need to have some kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? You need to be delusional about your championship hopes, because if you don't feel like you can go in there and win, you're gonna go in there and get your doors blown off you. So looking forward to see what Johnson C. Smith does this season. It could be historic. It could be historic in a good way, or it could be historic in a horrible way. We're just gonna have to see how it plays out. But looking forward to see Johnson C. Smith this season and the CIAA football in season. Of course, I'm gonna be repping for my Bulldogs. I'm hoping that we get back to that CIAA championship level, but you got to be realistic. And I'm just looking at the lay of the land in the CIAA, and it's gonna be tough for my Bulldogs. But I'm rooting for y'all. I'm rooting for y'all. But moving on, we got some news in the NAIA basketball. One of the top talents in HBCU NAIA basketball, Jamal Gibson, it has been announced that he is heading to Xavier University of Louisiana. Now, recently, it was announced that Jamal Gibson was going to be transferring from Southern University of New Orleans and going to the University of New Orleans. For those who don't know about University of New Orleans, that is where Percy Miller, who we all know as Master P, he is the president of basketball operations there. So when it was announced that Jamal Gibson was making his way to the University of New Orleans, we were hyped. One of the reigning two-time HBCUAC player of the year. Let me pull up his stats, because I need y'all to understand how insane it is, the numbers this man has put up in the past 2 seasons. So this are these from last year or this year? Let me see. I believe these are this year's numbers. 21 points on 52% shooting and 16 rebounds per game. That is inhuman numbers. And so it was no surprise when he was announced to be committing to the University of New Orleans, a Division I program. I forget what conference they're in, but yeah, it sounded about right. But we got thrown a curveball, and it was recently announced that you see Zula's men's basketball Instagram page posted that Jamal Gibson would be making their way there. We talked about Zula last week moving to the Southern States Athletic Conference after a 4-year stint in the Red River Athletic Conference. It'll be 5 years, when they eventually when it's become official that they will be a member of the Southern States Athletic Conference. But this is a huge splash for Zula. A huge splash. You talk about one of, if not the best individual player in NAIA basketball, in all of NAIA basketball, not just HBCU NAIA basketball. Zula is a program that consistently does well in basketball, women's basketball specifically, but men's basketball, they have had very levels of success. Last year, they made it to the NAIA tournament, had a disappointing performance in the Red River Athletic Conference, were one and done, losing to Southwest New Mexico. Is that Southwest New Mexico, or is that something else? Hold on. University of the Southwest. I don't know. Anyway, losing to them in the first round of the Red River Athletic Conference tournament, but still were able to make it to the NAIA national tournament. Were bowed out in a highly competitive overtime contest, but ended up losing to Ave Marie. They were 20-10 last season and 18-6 in the Red River Athletic Conference. So he's going to a program that is championship caliber. He is going to a championship caliber team. He will have he will have a realistic opportunity to play for a team that could potentially contend for an NAIA tournament spot. No disrespect to Suno, but it has been Jamal Gibson and everybody else in the past couple of years. They just have not been able to string together wins to put themselves in contention for an NAIA national tournament. Here at XULA, he'll be able to do that. He'll be able to do that with a stable program that has a history of success, getting to the national tournament. Have not won a game in the national tournament in a while, but he has a team that has the potential to make it to the tournament and could potentially get an upset in the first round should they play their cards right. So huge move for XULA, huge move for Jamal Gibson, making his way to a NAIA contender, and we'll see what he's like when the lights are on. If there's anything we learned from the NBA, it's different when you're playing with a team that's at the bottom of the standings and they need you to put up them numbers. What's going to happen when you go to a team that's ready to contend that is trying to contend for a championship, that's trying to be a contender? We've seen plenty of guys who were on bad teams and look like stars, and then they go to good teams and it don't equal up. Is Jamal Gibson that guy? I don't think so. I think Jamal Gibson is a true star. He's going to continue to put up the numbers that we saw him put up at Suno, and XULA is going to reap the benefits, and they are going to be a team to reckon with this upcoming season. And with them moving over to the Southern States Athletic Conference, this is their big hurrah in the Red River Athletic Conference, for lack of better words. And let me look up to see when was the last time they won a Red River Athletic Conference, the Red River Athletic Conference championship. I can't remember. So they have not won a tournament championship since they were in the GCAC. So this is their final year in the Red River Athletic Conference. You got to leave there with something. And I think Jamal Gibson is definitely the guy that can get them there. And yeah, I'm first of all, I'm glad that he's still a part of the HBCU family. That would have been a tough loss for us, having one of the brightest stars who has a tremendous story. If you have not heard Jamal Gibson's story, go look up any article of his, we're talking about him, and get familiar with his story. He's a guy that was the very definition of a late bloomer. He started playing college basketball at 27. 27, he started playing college basketball, and he has quite literally been a man amongst boys since he started playing. And he has star potential, whether it's overseas. I could see him playing in the G League. I think the one thing that he has to get down is, I think just like he's more of an undersized guy for his position. The fact that he's able to put up the numbers he puts up at his size, I think he's like 6'8", if I'm not mistaken. So he would have to get familiar with playing at the power forward position, because that's where he would be if he were to play at the pro level, whether it's overseas or in the G League. But I have no doubt that he could have success either in overseas or in the G League, and I could potentially see him even making an NBA roster. That would not surprise me whatsoever. If he was able to come up from training camp, he will most likely be called down to the G League, or maybe he just goes straight to the G League, and seeing that being as a better path for him to make it to the pros, or he goes directly to overseas. Who knows? But if he chooses to go the professional route, I have no doubt in my mind that he would be able to have success. It's just about establishing his identity at the pro level and being able to make his mark. But first things first, we got to get through XULA first. He got to play the season with XULA, and hopefully he has some he and the team have some success, and we have uh, NAIA champion for the first time in a long time. We got a couple of schools that could potentially contend for an NAIA championship. Langston yearly is a contender for the NAIA national championship under head coach Chris Wright. Last year didn't end in the way that they wanted it to. They made it to the regional final, but were bowed out. The year before, obviously, they made it to the national championship game. Last year was a bit of a step back, but hopefully Chris Wright has his guys ready and they're able to make some waves. Florida Memorial as well. They also made it to the NAIA national tournament, and that they will be a team to watch in getting back to the NAIA national tournament. So a lot of great things going on in NAIA HBCU NAIA basketball, and looking forward to see Jamal Gibson and all the others playing this upcoming season. Now we get to our last story, and it has to do with my alma mater. They recently made the announcement that we're going to pull it up right here. They are bringing in men's golf. Yes, Bowie State is getting into men's golf. It was announced that they will be beginning competition immediately. They will be beginning competition in the 2025-2026 athletic season. And they announced that their head coach is going to be Edric Poitier. I apologize if I'm saying your name wrong, Mr. Poitier. But Edric Poitier is also the women's volleyball coach at Bowie State. He has been the women's volleyball coach since 2022, and he is taking over an upstart program for Bowie State in men's golf. That this now completes the collection for Bowie State. They now have a sport that they now have a program in every sport that the CIAA they sponsors. This was the last one. And yeah, they complete the they complete the collection. They got all the Infinity Stones, So we got a couple of statements. This is from Bowie State Athletic Director Clyde Dowdy. He says, and I quote, "It is with great excitement that we officially move forward in sponsoring a co-ed NCAA golf program that will compete in the resilient CIAA. This initiative has been in development for several years, and I want to thank our dedicated golf committee for their hard work in bringing this vision to life. With Coach Edric Poitier at the helm, I am truly excited to see Bowie State University represented on the links this upcoming year." And we got a statement from Edric Poitier where he says, "I'm incredibly excited to be a part of this history-making opportunity, having competed in the conference for myself years ago. I understand the excitement and, more importantly, the opportunities this provides for our student athletes. It's not just about playing the game, it's about learning the many facets of the golf industry. The possibilities are limitless, and I'm hopeful our students will take full advantage of what this opportunity truly represents. Not everyone will go on to play on the PGA Tour, but they can absolutely build a successful career within the golf industry." So Bowie State, bringing in golf, it's a huge development for Bowie. Uh, I love it. I love it. You love to see schools branching out and being able to add programs, and this is going to do wonders for Bowie. Their recruiting base is going to widen with the addition of men's golf. The opportunities for the student athletes who choose to take part in Bowie's men's golf program is it hopefully it is endless, the opportunities that can come from this. My only question is, them, making this announcement and getting started this season. I thought it would have been, excuse me, I thought it would have made more sense to maybe get started in the 2026-2027 athletic season, but one thing I'm not going to do is question Clyde Dowdy. I know firsthand that man knows what he's doing. He has, been the leader of this athletic program since I went there. So he's been doing this for a long time, and I trust his vision. I'm not about to say this like I'm with him every day, nothing like that. But I've seen him operate up close, and I know the great work that he has done building up this Bowie State athletic program, uh, uh, and I know that this if he feels like this program is ready for this upcoming season, then they are ready. But looking forward to see the athletes that are announced for the inaugural team. They will be a part of history. Edric Portier is a part of history, the program's first head coach, and hopefully this program is able to last. Unfortunately, we've seen a lot of athletic programs at the Division II and the AIA level fall by the wayside, being forced to close. We see what's unfortunately happening at St. Augustine's. We see Talladega and Fisk's gymnastics program being forced to cut. So hopefully this is not a rehash of that situation. Hopefully Bowie State has a long, prosperous run in men's golf, and we can add some trophies to our collection plate. We got those. We got a lot of those. We got 3 softball championships. We got 3 football championships in the past couple of years. In recent years, we won and we've won championships in men's and women's basketball. So we are an athletic school. That's what we do. I know I'm saying we, but that's where I went. So we win championships at Bowie State, and if history, I'm pretty sure history is going to repeat itself. Name a sport we've won a championship in it. We got a bunch of them in bowling. You got a bunch of them. You can't look at the CIAA's championship page and not see Bowie State's name. There probably a couple of sports we ain't won it. St. Augustine's dominated in track and field, indoor and outdoor for decades. So you may not see our name in that, but hey, we're gonna see our name in every other sport though. And I'm confident that you'll see our name in the championships. I don't usually go on rants like this. I'm usually professional and unbiased, but hey, it's my university, and every chance I get to shout out to my university, I will take it. But Bowie State adding men's golf, and we'll see what comes of this, and if they're able to have that long, prosperous run. And yeah, just looking forward to see how it continues to grow going forward. But that's going to do it for this edition of this non-live edition of the Better Than Less Than podcast. If you can, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. You can always subscribe to become a level 1, 2, or 3 member to get all the exclusive content from the HBCU sports team. You can also potentially get some free merch if Ken Rashad is feeling blessed. I got look at me saying they both my bosses, so but yeah, if they feeling froggy, they might give you some of that merch. But hey, follow us on all of our social platforms: Twitter, X, we're on Instagram, we're on Blue Sky, we're on TikTok, we're on LinkedIn, we're on all those things. Search HBCU Sports, you will absolutely find us. Facebook as well. You want to make sure I break that up. They're on Facebook as well. And you can always go to HBCU Sports for all the latest news, and HBCUsports.com for all the latest news in sports. And please, once again, the HBCU Sports Awards, the second annual HBCU Sports Awards, will be going down on July 26th. We will be announcing the nominees soon, so stay tuned. July 26th, we will be streaming live on YouTube and on Facebook. So please keep it locked in. We are going to be honoring all of the HBCU student athletes, all of the best and brightest coaches, the administrators. And so please support your institution. Please support the HBCU Sports Awards. We want to make sure that this continues to keep going, and we have our own version of the Emmys. This is our version of the ESPYs. So please help us by keeping it locked in with us and supporting us and tuning in for all the latest news for the HBCU Sports Awards. Once again, going down on July 26th. Hope you all have a happy second Juneteenth, 4th of July weekend. But until next time, I'll be live. I promise. I promise. Don't be mad at me. I'm gonna be live next time. We're gonna talk to each other. I'm gonna miss being able to see y'all comments and interacting with y'all. But I gotta travel this weekend. But hopefully next week I'll be able to do this live and we can interact. But until next time, see you guys.